Hello, friends and family and enemies. My name is Trey, and today I want to talk to you about something that is always very dear to me, and I can always improve in it, but yet I never forget. Inner self-reverence. Seems like a logical fallacy these days. I mean, only you can save yourself, I say, but yet here I am back in the pup tent again. Am I addicted to survival in the most beautiful, golden country club prison room on the prison planet? All this massive amount of talk, or worse, word salad about the hell realm, interacting with Josh and beginning even to really face the truth about the trap and the Archon's seemingly endless stream of derogatory, crappy, false self-thoughts. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to face these truths we talk about. Seriously looking at the hijacked modern human condition. Especially after the successful takedown of about half the personal capabilities of human sovereignty. They use fake informed consent to destroy not only their minds, breaking the blood-brain barrier, personalities and choice, but obviously their perception of the inherent divinity within had to be eradicated. This is a very important facet. Like divine, Christ, magic. These words are trigger words because they were stolen in the collective unconscious or collective awareness by the black magic tricksters who created the modern mainstream media. Because they are black magicians, they don't want you to think anything positive about it, so they can manipulate your perception further. With graphene, they could hijack the perception even more with graphene dioxide colonies, remove and replace their self-reference, self-efficacy, sovereignty, and ability to keep their real essential qualities of empathy and care, with the transhumanist plan of rendering them humanoid remote control bots and flesh suits still, but now devoid of choice or self-respect at all? Question mark. In a sterile, archontic, humanoid cyborg world in an earthly hell realm, what is the first necessary quality to be removed? What is the first thing they needed to take away? Obviously, the awareness of the real divinity, Christ Sophia, chained into the psychological prison within human bodies in this form. You know, the divinity in chains, as I called one of my talks, with perhaps it all began long ago, you know, with the Zadokites, or long before that, or the first dark ET invasions that led to the secret societies, you know, in Atlantis, as Lisa Renee claims, that led to the Reverence, quickly became rendered exoterically siphoned and streamed outwards to the Anu gods in the sky, who so masterfully designed our economics and our cube tech and our Metatronic entrapment. Streamed outwards, up and out to the Anu gods in the sky. It had to be misplaced for hell. See all these things, all these words like electricity, hell, elites, always have, there's a meaning to syllables, syntax. My old buddy David Bliss was the first person to tune me into phonetics, studying, you know, how you can tell the meaning of a word by breaking down its syllables. Especially after the Council of Nicaea in 325, reverence became about lies, pretense, falsities, money, robes, gold, riches, rituals, and inversions leading up to the Pope declaring himself, both at different occasions, God and Jesus. Pedophiles were holy men. And even after all these lawsuits where millions of dollars have been paid out, in this and other Abrahamic religious traditions, they still run things. Unquestioningly, God's holy wrath was so divine, and there was so much respect for holy vampirism. You know, especially when the conquistadores created the California mission system. And man, that really put the blood in the land in these hills. And that really established the holy sweat equity and holy ritual, all the blood sacrifice for our imposed masters over the centuries. The Jews, Catholics, Muslims, and worse, in a way, Christians, because they really think that they're nice and gentle. They all really ruined the definition of that word. If you're from any of those traditions and you hear that word, reverence. Well, in this video, my goal is to seed the thought into my loving collective tiny community to reclaim that word. Evil vampire ET gods that demanded reverence and all these sacrifices in this endless war, it seems. And if you follow the soul trap memory wipe concept, okay, how can you deal with the implicit, inherent, and sickening depression, lack of connection, and hedonia? It's really hard. knowing that all your memories are going to be wiped when you die. It's disgusting. How can you care to live your best life, as all these gurus, or as all these coaches call it, to heal and get real within the actual divinity? In other words, this place I'm sitting on and the spirit that causes me to speak, that's not the false self. To heal and get real within the actual divinity while you are in a sentence in this psychological hell realm. You can start by reclaiming the parts of yourself, if you are very disciplined and strong, like your mind, or take more of it at least. Begin to take more back of your mind. Honor and revere the real creator within you. Revere your art. Give thanks to yourself. Give thanks to the divine and your loved ones when you make a beautiful artistic creation that helps people to awaken. Remember when you have divine hierogamic coupling, whether it's a kiss or the sexual act, that it's sacred if you're actually in a real divine partnership. And it's not an alien love bite type of deal, which unfortunately is a vast amount, it seems, to keep the loosh farm going. So, again, it's all about discernment here. Start by reclaiming the parts of yourself. If you are very disciplined and strong, like your mind, what is really divine? What really deserves reverence? It's not just a loosh farm. It's not just a hell realm. It's not just a dude sitting in a tent getting shadow banned. It's a lot more. It's a creativity experiment. If you can carve out a little invisible, hidden, or rented free space to create and have, buy back some free will or steal some free will. In other words, camping out or renting or moving into some type of private space. However that works out for you in a peaceful and harmless way, and reclaiming a little free will. Just a little bit. Then the more the more in the timeless now moment you have out of your strong, the more reclamation of divinity is possible. From my perspective as a person in the Mayan cosmology, guided by the power of timelessness, I am here to help you who is truly open-minded, to remember, to give you tips and hints and reminders of that reality that's not bullshit. So when you make some good art, or you make some good love or music or food, remember yourself as a part of the real creator, not the bullshit slave or bullshit tyrant narcissist. As you begin or get really good at psychological differentiation and internal individualization, knowing the difference between the thoughts that came from the essence of the creator, which is the part that decided and agreed to experience itself as a fragment of the soul creator as you, and the part that is the archonic, filthy, disgusting fake thoughts. It might take a lot of practice, a lot of discipline, a lot of work. As you begin to disidentify through meditation, through discernment, through watching my videos and taking information into your heart, as you begin to disidentify from the literally and sickening endless stream of derogatory, archonic, filthy comments and commands. Oh yeah, they're commands. They're loud, and they're not you, and they're disgusting. What will replace the false self's pathologies? Breath work leading to internal silence. And then what? Crickets? Are you really ready to leave your flesh suit? Joshua, have you really done every single thing that you ever wanted to do, ever, in a flesh suit? Or do you really have the faith, conversely, that if you say you want to live again somewhere, that you really believe in yourself enough to make it into to create your own fleshly reality somewhere else that doesn't have all the filth? That's a lot of spirit power, a lot of essence power. But I'd be truth that maybe, if you have that much essence power, if your spirit is that strong, then anything is possible, right? There's no limits except what we agree to. And again, if you're harming yourself or others, you create the limits. Just like the reason why people run endless wars, why people are wage or property tax slaves, financial slaves, why they let their children almost starve so they can pay the rent, is because these conditions are, they belie, or they allow fear, manipulation, violent warlords to control them. And, the way that I've existed here in Santa Cruz in the last decade is not something to brag about. It's not something I'm proud of, I'm impressed by. But, however, it does establish the precedent. And this is what I want you to vote for, your own precedent. To say it's a possibility. You could do something different than be a fucking slave only, or be in a puddle of drug addicts and structures like this. No. There's always other options. I'm trying to kick myself to rebuild it, but I just don't want to. I have other plans. So I was in a teepee here for years, and probably the majority of that decade, a little bit more than half of that decade, and it was well insulated, warm, and out of the rain. Tall enough to dance in, but I only had a few dancers coming in there. Santa Cruz over the years. But, everything we do is our teaching. Everything we do, not what we say. What we say, hopefully, if it's good, if it's valuable, it will be shared and learned from. Even if you're a dude in a tent with illness. But, reverence seems preposterous. I mean, unless you believe asceticism is divine, you're not going to believe me in this, right? Because we're in a materialistic culture that thinks 3D and physical stuff is what matters. I'm inclined to reject it too much, obviously. I veer toward the other side too much, too far into that ancient Indian, unhealthy asceticism when a rent is, when it's $1,100 to rent a room and you don't want to spend that. So, reverence itself seems preposterous in psychological hell. A contradiction. An impossible paradox. Like the idea that I could be thankful, it's just the ganja, right? Or it's just the wishful thinking, the rosy glasses, right? No. It's the result of Buddhist training. It's the result of being real on a bigger picture. I mean, I do feel that it's again, a repurposed hell realm, but like this, but not all of it. That I do believe that the place and the spirit in some of these bodies is part of a very divine, respectful being. And that's how we got hoodwinked. Because Sophia had never experienced anything like Inky or loosh or force. She didn't know what violence and filthy, disgusting con artistry. She didn't know what it was to be a black hole type of being. Okay? So when she decided to create Yaldabaoth without a partner, according to the Gnostic text, that was bringing out the reversed male, the dark. Perhaps she brought it about, and she admits, you see, there's no divine creators in this globe, or whatever, this snow globe, or whatever it is, that haven't made mistakes. No one's perfect, including all the divine beings. That's the reality. Okay, Yahweh's perfection was a lie. Before and after exoteric hijack, what would reverence be? What would it be? To really revere your inner Christ. To really revere everyone on the soul level, if possible, you know. To respect their free will if they're not harming anyone else. To get a tingle of blissful joy, kundalini rising up your spine, and as your essence feels that thankfulness is how you destroy the cage of archontic imprisonment, because they feed off all the stupid shit, but they don't really know how to. This is one of the ways I probably stayed so-called safe physically or spiritually so many years, is my shamanic prayers. Giving thanks to the elements, the essences, because that's not on the frequency they can control, you see? So that's why the media has to be stupid trash. First, let me say, and the question of what would true reverence be, first let me say I've never given up the Thanksgiving path, even after all the research on hell. I constantly, when I'm really being reverential, give thanks to the real creators and the elements, you know, earth, fire, water, ether, air, essence, in all its aspects, that allows me to taste food, to share wisdom, to experience service to the oneness. That, you know, and from the Taoist perspective, to become the male body temporarily, to the experience the hierogamic bliss with the woman, to be more powerful, more intensely wonderful than it would be if I was aware, if I was simply knew I was whole. However, of course, the memory wipe takes the game way too fucking far. In my shamanic prayers, I pray on I pray on the spirit and sunshine, the spirit and earth, the spirit and air, the spirit and water. You know, I think of them as my, you know, to really heal these diseases 100%, I would have to, you know, have all of the elements, have my body functions be under my full control, as if I'm the hunter and I control these elements. I don't let the, you know, for example, the so-called chemtrails and geoengineering could exasperate. So I would have to, you know, go back in the teepee or a legal box or some kind of other structure that's insulated. You know, for example, like to really be a shamanic kind of healer, you'd have to have full. You got to pray on the elements, pray to the elements. So that's why I pray to the elements, the Thanksgiving prayers. But, you know, it's the same thing. It causes me to have more dominion over my auric powers of my mind and my body. You know, which is the only things that any soul essence really can have control over. You know, so I give thanks to the elements. I give thanks to the real, original version of this experiment. We can still witness, believe it or not, 100% If you're going around complaining and thinking about how it's a hell realm and looking for all the things wrong and looking for how it's a horrible, facsimile, yeah, you'll find millions of percent of evidence. But if you're looking around to see if you can find that free will exists, or that creativity exists, or that bliss is there, or that you're given a choice, a chance to experience, to promote wisdom or growth, it's a possibility you might find that. Because that is what the original version was and the future is about. So, in the original version of this experiment, we can still witness the peaceful aspects of nature. Yes. I honor the evil ones as adversaries. I say that, I have been amazed and awestruck at the veracity, the powers, the fact that they never give up, their organizational capacity, and all of these invisible so-called weapons pointed at me and everyone else, but particularly those sharing the truth. Yes, I have to say, wow, it can, blow your mind. It's like studying narcissistic personality disorder, however. If you really begin to revere it in the sense of respecting this, you can respect it as, as much as you respect, your personal self, because it's a fine line, probably, or a gray area for some folks, because you have to honor, in this fight that they're. But on the other hand, Keith had a lot of great points when he said that, it's really not a fight even. That they're, they've got all these weapons and we can't even see. We're not even aware of all these different, or the average normie is not even aware at all of all the different ways they're being attacked by the enemy, the inner me. And so he calls it a full frontal attack, or whatever. So yeah, it's serious. But if you don't, you have to have more reverence and respect for yourself, or you can't. If you just get awestruck studying the fallen angels' control, then it's a black hole. It's a cul-de-sac. So you have to have full reverence for the divine within. This is the key. And this means that you're not going to honor the narcissist voice of the archon. You're going to put it down. You're going to honor that. Like, I'll tell them, you're very talented for a scumboy, a scammer. You're very talented for an interdimensional parasite that doesn't belong here. You've got skills for a demonic entity, in a calm voice, not angry. So this is how I give reverence to the enemy, the fake gods. But I do not honor them. I do not respect them in the sense of honor them in the sense of respect. I do not honor in the sense of respect the loser God that makes everyone else lose so he can feed. No. I respect, where he's an amazingly talented, being as far as genetic engineering, as far as getting his way in a filthy, disgusting ways that his tenacity, you have to have reverence for the amount of tenacity these fuckers have. I mean, it's amazing. But at the same, exactly what I'm saying is that you have to revere your own tenacity more. And that's another flip hand of that thought. Because if you don't, it overwhelms you, It's David and Goliath. You can't look at the physical size of it and not be intimidated. But if you get on your knees, if you revere them or respect them, what happens? You're taking over. You're back in the you're back in the filthy trauma bond, right? So yes, I honor the evil ones as adversaries. I am beginning to acknowledge their massive infrastructures of all kinds of poisonous attacks on tyranny, yet I do not fear or have reverence for violence, rape, slavery, or memory wipes. With reverence for what is really good, magical, and organic, still, somehow, or partially still organic, you'll see Sophia's signatures. You'll be able to notice. You'll be able to see the divinity is still able to act in some ways, sneaky, covertly, that she's able to serve the eye. But if you think it's only a hell realm, if you think you've lost all your agency and you're talking trash and you're afraid and worried, you don't have a connection that comes from within. I admit the truth. I mean, you're being dumped, physically attacked with engineering if you live around here. I admit the truth more and more, and I'm still thankful that I'm with you here on the first and second drizzle, organic or fake, a little of both. Probably fake. You know, I'm thankful. I admit the truth more and more, and yet I also admit the necessity of a personal and collective return to self-reverent respect and revere the true self within, a portion of the Christ, and psychological self-parenting, and what is known as the Ho'oponopono philosophy of healing and from Hawaii, and many types of shamanic philosophy. There is a focus on the internal dialogue, what I call the stream of archonic, incessant trash thoughts. If you can discipline your thoughts, purifying your mind, so that the parasites can't feed. This is the biggest, for me, from my perspective, this is probably the biggest thing to get real, to awaken, to get to peace, to get wherever you want to go, and to end war and to get done with the fake ass hell realm. But it takes a lot of work. You'll need to be very diligent, and these philosophies utilize their concepts to render you a gentle, respectful parent to yourself. That's the idea. You'll be the exact opposite of a narcissist or a borderline, or, you know. When you know the violent, guilt-tripping God in the sky is evil bullshit, yet you need respect, peace, and reverence. And a lot of people, of course, this is what they thought church was going to, they think church brings them that. But again, like the Humans 2.0, like the globalists, like the weather, like paying for your box, it's the imposter reverence. You put the divine back where it really is, inside. Can you reclaim your free will in this manner, even if this free will zone, clay or canvas, basically, whatever shape it is, the so-called earth? I don't like to use that word, even though it's beautiful in a way, because it's an anagram for heart and has art in the middle. It's coming from Ea and some of these Anunnaki gods' names. So it has been repurposed as a multiple choice SAT quest, SAT test for muggles. Well, you have free will, but you have to choose between these topics. See, so much That's elementary school, junior high, high school, and college. That's, obviously the subconscious program there. See, so much of psychological hell we subconsciously agreed to, well, through, fake informed consent and through schooling, the forced compulsory school systems, mind control. How can you cope when you know the matrix was all built by stolen money and stolen labor and violent warlord generated evil? How can you prepare for the afterlife here and now without massive remote viewing skills or being enlightened in some other way, for example? How do I know the naive divinity who does give free will, even though the demiurge tries to pile these layers of trash, and often, most of the time, most occasions, does pile these layers of trashy, fake informed consent on top of it? Practice reverential self-care. It may not seem like it by my abode, but I love this thing. I respect the part of it that's really divine. I respect the part of this voice speaking that's really divine. The other parts of it I have to work on respecting and letting go of, It's hard to respect. It's hard to not want to be angry and pissed when you find out how disgusting this world is. But, again, if you've tasted a little of the true magic, of the good magic, the original magic, man, you will never be the same. You would never, once you take the red pill, it also includes amazing siddhas that will change you. Or at least you'll be aware they exist. Replace the archon's filth with respectful holographic inserts. And instead of, these trigger words, put words into your subconscious, like my prayers of thanksgiving, words that trigger awareness and peace in your subconscious, Joy and awareness. Why do we accept such horrific holographic false self limitations and keep them? Like that I need to stay in a tent. Why would I? I've probably had lifetimes as an ascetic. Peace and discernment, and the higher you go in your awareness levels, the more so-called enlightened, the more free you become in the afterlife, the more of a threat it is. Just like it said in the Pistis Sophia that, when Christ Yeshua got to the forced reincarnation trap, probably in the moon, that the archons fell over on themselves and couldn't force him to do shit because his light was so powerful. Well, it depends on how much awareness you have as to what happens to you here and then, but you're going to get attacked if you're really enlightened here, or infiltrated, because peace and discernment can upset the psychic filth infrastructure's apple cart. Fake reverence is to get into heaven. All these people that act all reverential, oh, bless you, man. Whether there's some dogmatic type of Hinayana Buddhist or Zen Buddhist or a Christian, a Bible thumper. I'm going to be so pious and nice and reach down and tithe, and I'm going to reach down and help you, dirty, disgusting, unwashed mass heathen victim slave member, and we'll give you some money or give you some food, and I'll reach down and rescue you because I'm above you. No. Push back in peace. Get real within. Do the shadow work. This is how you push back in peace against this filth. Get some real reverence. Get some real dignity. Get some real discernment. Get some real self-respect. respect. Just as herpes, cancer, and MRSA can feed off sugar and just as easily almost off infested, malignant, inflamed thoughts, admitting a dialogue of thanksgiving, respect, peace, and care of the little child within you can be a salve. That's the Gnostic salvation, that you are thankful to Christ Sophia, or the wisdom goddess within, the real creator, for those parts of you that are going to, because if you escape the forced reincarnation, man, you're going to be a really powerful spirit, through her mistake and through what was once a beautiful, blissed out, heavenly or divine, peaceful realm of, maybe it will be again. It still gives you some gifts if you're able to somehow escape the memory wipe. But this, having respect, peace, and care of the little child within you can be a salve, a repose, a place to visit, to transform the hell within you to a beautiful inner landscape. No matter how horrific, violent, and disgusting the outer world is, no matter what's happening, it has nothing to do with material stuff, whether you're poor or rich, a slave, a refugee. Should you be thankful and have reverence for the abuse and bloodbaths going on? No, that's not what I'm saying. It's awesome, and have awe, but do your best to unplug yourself from the filthy dogma, from the cause of war, from the belief, from the destructive, suicidal viewpoint of the Archon within your subconscious. No, have awareness. Be prepared, as the Boy Scout motto says, but also on a deeper level, understand. For sure, all wars start and stop within our minds. I am awakening your mind. I am crushing the Archon's control of you when I expand your mind. Accept the holographic nature of your mind. And unfortunately, we have to accept, the filthy, fake version of what Castaneda called the flyers, the infrastructure put in there, and see what we can do to remove that shit. If you can be a good, gentle, stern parent for yourself, gentle and stern, respectful, if you can replace the scummy Archon's self-trashing inner dialogues with respect, self-reference, like, are you okay? What do you need? Being gentle. This is something I really need to work on, and I feel like a hypocrite at the moment because I can make a nice little sermon, but actually practicing this is a serious skill, unfortunately. So you take Archons out of your mind like ticks. Like you might have gotten the psychic Lyme disease, which is religious dogma or scientism, death cult dogma, And so then you'll be sick for years and years and years. Even if you get the Archons, if you meditate, say, you do serious meditation, Vipassana every day, you get them all out of your thoughts, except you still believe the filth, or you refuse to give up filthy food. You see? As long as you leave an end, a thread, a little weakness, this is where they come in. So, I ask myself, what do I really want when I see how horrific the world is? And I see how hijacked the power structures are. It's so anticlimactic and amotivational, aging, success, poverty, all of it. It's easy to just feel like, what's the point? Well, you see, I would like to see the humans and this place reclaim for freedom. I would like to see them remember that they're artists, that they're creators, co-creators, that they create with the divinity within them. And it's not something outside the self. It's the real self. As you improve your mind and vastly, as well as accepting the false limits of the Hell Realm's personal and physical cages until you have the strength to unlock them, hopefully, ideally, if possible, you can replace the harsh streams of filth with reverence. You can remember to see the real goodness in the place, in nature, in other ensouled humans, even in an NPC or even in the fucking graffiti or anything. Like the silly movie American Beauty, the trash bag in the wind. I mean, everything is in the eye of your perception. And most importantly, you can see the real goodness in yourself. You can remember to stay thankful for what is benevolent. You can return to real inner self-reverence.